I go, I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate what you're doing, but leave a comment below. Who is it? I try to see who the subscribers are because I want to send you something special. Not like a virus in the computer, and not like nothing, no powder in the envelope to your house. Just like some some good content, some good videos, and then if not, lots of bad ones. Like, oh, my earpieces are falling. Hold on. Like, share, subscribe, ring my bell, and keep watching the news too. No, all right.
So if you are one of the people that believe this is a simulation, this is a matrix, then this is for you. Everyone else, keep scrolling because you're going to be like, what the fuck is she talking about? But I have this theory that the more karmic debt that you work out in past lives, the more consciousness you're able to incarnate with in your next life. So just like if you've been playing a video game for a long time and you like get a bunch of coins and you're able to buy all this stuff in the game that like helps you do better in it. I don't know a lot about video games, but basically if you've worked out a bunch of karmic debt, you get more consciousness that you're born into in your new incarnation, which would explain why some people that have had like all these difficult experiences early in life, like life has really kicked them in the ass and they stayed down when they got kicked. Basically, they don't, their subconscious programming is running the show. They don't have enough fight in them to pull themselves out of it and, recognize that they're on the wrong path and pull themselves to the right path. And I've always wondered, like, why are some people able to, they have this something in them that's like, no, we've got to heal ourselves. We've got to, get past this. We've got to overcome this. Like, they just have fight in them, like this fighter spirit that not everyone has. And so, to me, it makes sense that you work out all this karmic debt and they're like, okay, this time around, you're going to have more consciousness available. So you're going to have more of your conscious brain available to you. You're going to have a stronger sense of self available than you did in your last incarnations.
I don't know if anybody believes in karma, but I believe in Joe Rogan.
So,
as 45,000 sealed indictments. Now, this is on the official U.S. government court record. You can go to the pacer.gov website, which lists all of the lawsuits and all of the indictments filed in all of the different districts in America, and just count up the sealed indictments. The official count, the undisputed count, is 45,000, and the normal number for any given year is approximately 1,000. Now, this is a very, very big story that people are really not seeing exactly how awesome this is. Let's talk about what do you have to do to get a sealed indictment. Okay, a sealed indictment is the result of a secret grand jury proceeding. Now, what is a secret grand jury? A secret grand jury requires a panel of 12 to 23 U.S. citizens who are then given information and testimony from a prosecutor. The prosecutor is prosecuting a particular individual who is not invited to the proceedings, has no idea this is going on. And in legal terms, that's called ex parte. So
ex parte.
He or she is testified against by the prosecutor, and then the jury has to decide if there is sufficient cause to prosecute this person with a crime. In which case, they file a sealed indictment. The indictment stays off the record. You don't get to know the person's name until they unseal it, at which point the person is immediately arrested. And then they get to have the regular trial by jury with a judge. But you have to understand that the prosecutor is either a federal U.S. attorney, a county district attorney, or a state attorney general. These are big, big league players. This is not some attorney that you hire in Podunk, okay? These are major players creating major indictments. And the reason why they do it this way is that they're prosecuting organized crime. Typically, that's what it is. They're prosecuting a larger ring where they can't indict one person at a time. They have to get all their ducks in a row. They have to line it all up so that when they unseal the indictments, everybody gets arrested at once. and there's no ability for them to tip each other off that something happened so that the rats can flee off of the sinking ship. They all get nailed at once.
I think that's what's happening. They're all getting nailed at once, and it's unfortunate. There was supposed to be some tribunal hearings. All the logs are out. All the information are out. Epstein's part of it, but he's like Q. Q's set up to make you think in the way they want you to think. Don't think that way. Think this way with this next clip.
Let's get right into it. Number 6. The U.S. deliberately infected people with STDs. Guatemala, 1940s. American researchers, funded by the U.S. government, traveled to Guatemala and deliberately infected soldiers, prisoners, and psychiatric patients with syphilis and gonorrhea without telling them, without their consent, and without ever treating.
And if you don't believe that, I'm telling you, Bill Gates, which you shouldn't be saying, I should have to bleep out, is definitely going overseas, allegedly, for his entertainment purposes only, and injecting right into their veins. You don't believe me? Check this out. We'll go back. We'll come back to this.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. We're taking things that are,
genetically modified organisms, and
we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Yeah, that doesn't sound bad at all. Makes me want to stand right in line and roll up my sleeve.
We're taking things that are,
and that, like I said, you guys, that's part of it. These are all true statements. These are things they really done. Let's get back to it.
Let's get right into it. Number 6. The U.S. deliberately infected people with STDs. Guatemala, 1940s. American researchers, funded by the U.S. government, traveled to Guatemala and deliberately infected soldiers, prisoners, and psychiatric patients with syphilis and gonorrhea without telling them, without their consent, and without ever treating most of them properly. The goal was to study how the diseases progressed and whether penicillin could prevent infection. The researcher leading the study, John Cutler, was the same man involved in the infamous Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where black men in Alabama were denied treatment for syphilis for decades, also by the U.S. government, also under the banner of science. The Guatemala experiments weren't discovered until 2010, when a researcher stumbled onto archive documents. President Obama personally called the Guatemalan president to apologize. Around 1,300 people were deliberately infected. Many were never treated. This wasn't a rogue operation by a mad scientist in a basement. It was approved, funded, and operated by official government health bodies. The conspiracy theory that governments have used vulnerable populations as medical test subjects without consent isn't a theory. It's a documented, repeated, bipartisan, historical fact. If your trust in institutions feels slightly wobbly right now, that's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. Number 5. The Ford Pinto Fire Memo. Here's a fun thought experiment. Imagine your company discovers that a design flaw in your product will cause it to catch fire and kill people. Now imagine that instead of fixing it, someone runs the numbers, figures out that paying out wrongful death lawsuits would be cheaper than a recall, and files that calculation away as official policy. That's not a hypothetical. That's the Ford Pinto. In the 1970s, Ford released the Pinto, a compact car with a fuel tank positioned in a way that made it catastrophically prone to rupturing and igniting in rear-end collisions.
Catastrophic.
Internal documents, which became public during litigation, showed that Ford engineers had identified the defect before the car launched. An internal cost-benefit analysis, now known as the Pinto Memo, weighed the cost of fixing the flaw against the projected cost of settling death and injury lawsuits. Fixing it lost. The car went to market. People burned. Ford eventually issued a recall after enough deaths triggered regulatory pressure, but by then the document was already in court and in newspapers. The conspiracy theory that corporations will knowingly let customers die if the math works out in their favor turned out to be a literal memo with actual math in it. Capitalism didn't invent conscience. Apparently, it just runs it through a cost-benefit model first. Number 4. The Gulf of Tonkin incident was fabricated.
I grew up with a Pinto in my backyard. Ford Pinto. Dookie Brown. Ford Pinto. Look out for the gas tanks. Back to the clip.
The Vietnam War escalated because of an attack that almost certainly never happened. On August 4th, in historical style, 1964, the U.S. government reported that North Vietnamese torpedo boats had attacked American destroyers in the Gulf of Tonkin for the second time in 2 days. Congress responded by passing the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which gave President Johnson virtually unlimited authority to escalate military involvement in Vietnam. 500,000 troops, 58,000 American deaths, millions of Vietnamese casualties, all downstream from one incident that the Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara later admitted was probably a radar malfunction and nervous sailors firing at shadows in the dark. Declassified NSA documents released in 2005 confirmed that analysts had manipulated intelligence reports to make the Phantom attack appear real. The first incident on August 2nd likely did happen. The second one, the one that actually triggered the resolution, almost certainly didn't. Johnson himself reportedly told an aide shortly after, with characteristic Texan bluntness, that those sailors had probably been shooting at flying fish. He knew. He escalated anyway. A generation of young men were drafted into a war that was politically justified using an event that was, at minimum, wildly misrepresented, and, at maximum, completely invented. Your government didn't just spin the story. They fed it into a wood chipper and handed Congress the confetti. Number 3. COINTELPRO and sabotaging civil rights leaders. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, ran a covert counterintelligence program from 1956 to 1971 called COINTELPRO, and its explicit goal was to infiltrate, discredit, and destroy political organizations the government considered threatening. That included the Communist Party, yes, but also the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Black Panther Party, and individual figures like Martin Luther King Jr. The program sent King an anonymous letter after bugging his hotel rooms, compiled a dossier of his personal life, and explicitly encouraged him to commit suicide before his Nobel Peace Prize acceptance. That sentence is real. It is in declassified documents. The FBI, the nation's premier law enforcement agency, attempted psychological warfare against a Baptist minister who was receiving a peace prize. Activists were framed for crimes. Leaders were fed to rival groups to provoke violence. Informants were planted to manufacture internal distrust. The program was only exposed when a group of activists broke into an FBI office in Pennsylvania in 1971 and mailed the stolen documents to journalists. The government tried to suppress publication. Some papers ran it anyway. COINTELPRO wasn't a fringe allegation floated by people in tinfoil hats. It was a systematic, taxpayer-funded campaign to eliminate political dissent by any means available. The conspiracy wasn't theory. It was policy, with a budget and a filing system. Number 2. The sugar industry buried heart disease research. Your sweet tooth has been lied to at an institutional level. In the 1960s, the sugar industry was facing a scientific problem. Researchers were starting to connect sugar consumption to heart disease. This was bad for business, so the Sugar Research Foundation did what any reasonable, multi-billion-dollar industry does when science threatens profits. They paid scientists to redirect the blame. Specifically, they funded Harvard researchers to publish studies emphasizing dietary fat as the primary cause of heart disease, while minimizing sugar's role entirely. The researchers were paid the equivalent of roughly $50,000 in today's money. The funding was never disclosed. The studies were published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1967 and shaped nutritional policy for decades. The low-fat dietary guidelines that dominated public health messaging from the 1970s onward, the ones that sent everyone scrambling to eat fat-free products loaded with sugar, were built partly on a foundation that the sugar industry had quietly purchased. Documents exposing this arrangement weren't uncovered until 2016, when researchers at UC San Francisco found them in archived industry records. By then, obesity rates had climbed for 50 years, and the low-fat gospel had already done its damage. The conspiracy theory that food companies manipulate nutrition science for profit wasn't paranoid speculation. It was a receipted transaction, literally, with names, dates, and dollar amounts attached. Number 1. The tobacco playbook was copied by the oil industry. This one is almost impressive in how brazen it is. After Big Tobacco successfully spent decades manufacturing scientific doubt about the link between cigarettes and cancer, other industries watched, took notes, and ran the exact same play. Internal documents from ExxonMobil that emerged through investigative reporting and legal discovery revealed that the company's own scientists had concluded as early as the 1970s and 1980s that burning fossil fuels was warming the planet and would cause serious long-term climate disruption. Their research was sophisticated, accurate, and largely aligned with what independent climate scientists were publishing. Then, the company made a strategic decision to fund climate denial instead. They bankrolled think tanks, funded contrarian scientists, and ran advertising campaigns designed to convince the public that the science was unsettled, while their internal models were quietly predicting sea level rises and temperature increases with alarming precision. The strategy had a name borrowed almost directly from tobacco: manufacturing uncertainty. Make the public feel like experts disagree, even when they largely don't, and you buy yourself decades of regulatory inaction. A 2023 congressional investigation confirmed that major oil companies had continued funding climate disinformation efforts, even while publicly claiming to support climate action. The conspiracy wasn't that climate change was fake. The conspiracy was a coordinated, industry-funded campaign to make you think scientists weren't sure, while the industry's own scientists absolutely were. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.
Hey, you guys, you can believe it or you can not believe it. If you don't believe it, jump in your Pinto, have a cigarette, go down to the oil companies, enjoy some sugar. And watch out for that autism. You know where it come from. They're not retarded. They're vaccinated. Next clip.
We're reducing population growth. That's this big benefit. The key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
In the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population,
Wait. What the?
more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that. We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
What the?
So in the next 5 to 10 years, for the next pandemic, we'll solve all those problems.
You say the next pandemic, there will be another pandemic.
Absolutely. We don't know when.
History teaches us that the next pandemic is a matter of when, not if.
We know what's next. We're going to have another major coronavirus pandemic before the end of this decade, before 2030.
If we really want to prevent the next pandemic, and there will be one, there will absolutely be an outbreak of another pandemic. It may be next year.
We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic.
There's going to be another pandemic. You can guarantee it right here, right now, for their entertainment purposes only.
This is huge breaking news coming in. After Iran destroyed U.S. radar installations in the Gulf countries, it rained a year's worth of rain in just 72 hours. Iran destroy American radars in the region. Increased rainfall dams are overflowing after 7 years. The director of Darbandakan Dam announces that the dam is 100% full. It is one of the largest dams in the country, with a storage capacity exceeding 3 billion cubic meters of water. And the main thing to understand is last year, Iran was hit by the worst drought in 50 years, which caused a severe famine and a dramatic increase in food prices. This was the perfect breeding ground for popular discontent and the fomenting of uprisings organized by the enemy. However, in early March, Iranian missiles destroyed all the radars at U.S. bases in the Gulf. Rains immediately returned so abundant that the dams are now overflowing naturally. Is it just a coincidence, or were the American radars used for HARP operations? Was the U.S. war against Iran also a climate war? Coincidence or manipulation? One thing is certain. After years of drought, Iran's dams are filling again, and the questions are only getting bigger. Make sure to follow for latest updates.
Damn!
I don't know what's going on in New York right now, but check this out. They got a whole perimeter around the Fox News building right here on 6th Avenue. I think they're getting ready for something big. Something real big is about to happen. Wait for it.
Wait, what's coming on? What's going to happen? This next clip.
I don't know what's...
Iran just posted a mysterious moving forward. Then it shows Netanyahu Iran just posted a mysterious countdown timer on X, and it has many people wondering, what does this mean? It starts by showing a watch with the time at 1:20 and goes on to show time moving forward. Then it shows Netanyahu from behind with his voice, and then bang. It ends on a "we are present everywhere" 1:20. So what can this mean? I mean, should we be worried about this?
I think you should be worried when they start worrying you.
Alright, at this time we need everybody to have their heads down and hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. I need to see everyone's hands. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down.
Okay, man. Now, if you guys are confused as to what is going on right now, this was a flight that was headed from Tennessee, which got diverted to Atlanta, Georgia, within the United States of America, guys. And this is what Americans are preparing for, specifically because they received a threat midway on the flight, guys. This is the reality that we are facing. This is the seriousness of where we have gone within the country today, guys. And if you guys are not taking this serious or not being prepared for this, I'm telling you right now, this is very scary times. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm just telling you the truth. That's what is happening, guys. But this is specifically what we're talking about. Let's check this other angle out of this video right here.
Everybody heads down. Stand up. Stand up.
This is where we are, guys, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not making this up. This is an AI video. This is going viral all over the internet, and this is why Americans are getting prepared, because things like this can happen at any time to anybody. It doesn't matter. This is one of the casualties of some of the massive decisions that have been made right now within the administration, guys. This is why I say, guys, why are we so involved within this piece of within this piece of the world right now? It doesn't make sense. And the fact that we are going to the extent of viral all over the internet, and this is why Americans are getting prepared, because things like this can happen at any time to anybody. It doesn't matter. This is one of the casualties of some of the massive decisions that have been made right now within the administration, guys. This is why I say, guys, why are we so involved within this piece of within this piece of the world right now? It doesn't make sense. And the fact that we are going to the extent of going even deeper within this and forcing Iran to surrender or whatever the case is, guys, the list goes on. And I'm not going to go super deep into it, but what I will tell you is, guys, there are people's lives at stake. There are military members who are being deployed right now. This is escalating very fast. We're talking about gas prices. We're talking about everything under the sun that are going up as we speak because of this whole situation. And I don't see an end to it, guys. They're talking about this is going to last for 4 weeks plus, but knowing the countries we're dealing with, this will last for an entire decade. This is the reality, guys. I just can't make this up. But now Americans are being prepared. They're getting prepared because they don't know. They're preparing for the absolute worst.
Iran is going to hit us back, and they're going to hit us back hard. And I don't think people quite understand exactly what that means, so I'm going to do my best to spell it out here. And I want you to know that this is not intended to fearmonger. It's intended to educate.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. When the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, was murdered today, and quite frankly, not a good person, it was okay to put him in the dirt. But the way we went about it,
yeah,
and the way that we also bombed a girls' school in South Iran,
yeah,
an all-girls school, you've kicked a hornet's nest, okay? You maybe killed the queen when you kicked the hornet's nest, for sure. But you still have an entire swarm of hornets. There is still an entire regime within Iran that wanted the Ayatollah alive, that followed the Ayatollah, that wants that way of life, that hates America, death to America. And
at this time we need everybody to have their heads down and hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. I need to see everyone's hands. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down.
Pretty serious right there. Check this out.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Stefan Burns. We are right now in the critical time period that we've been looking at, not just for a few weeks, but actually I've been looking at this time period now for a few months. And this is because there is a convergence of factors. We're talking solar factors, like this giant coronal hole. We're talking, for example, space factors. We have a comet right now, the brightest comet of 2026. It's at its perihelion tomorrow, its closest approach to the sun. It has a super long plasma tail. I can show you it right here really quick. This is Pan-STARRS, and that is quite significant. It will have a perfect Sun, Comet, Earth alignment 25th, 26. We have this really notable planetary alignment right now. Earth, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, these four being really precise, and these four here all sharing roughly the same tilt angle, showing that there's some level of resonance between these planets. And when they're in this sort of alignment, well, things can get a little wild. We see that. We also have an Earth, Venus, Uranus alignment. We have a Mercury, Sun, Jupiter alignment. There's a Venus, Saturn, Neptune alignment. That one is precise, exact vector angle. So when we see these sort of planetary alignments, we often get big events to unfold. We have this coronal hole that I just mentioned right here. This is emitting a high-speed stream of solar wind.
I don't know what you guys know about coronal holes, but I can tell you right now, the sun is the bull's butthole. And we are supposed to travel from Earth through to the sun, to the coronal hole in the sun, which is the bull, the Apis bull's butthole. Google it. GPI it. Check it out. Get into it. DuckDuckGo, Yanix, whatever you got to do. It's the butthole of the sun. You're supposed to be there. All the Mayans knew it. All the Incas knew it. Inca, bottle of ink, paintings of rebellion, Jonah by the thoughts of back to the clip. Cows or a bull is one of the most holiest symbols in the world, and it has been deified for thousands of years. All over the world, you'll see hieroglyphs and paintings and reproductions of cows and worships of them. More than half the world honors them and worships them, but at the same time, they have no knowledge as to why they worship these beasts. But it's a faith, a belief, and they believe even without knowing. In the ancient world, the Apis bull was very holy. And I don't just mean holy, it gives holy a whole new word, the word whole. For nearly 50,000 years, you will find it was just as important to the beginning man, to us, to everyone. And if you do look back, you will know why. And once we know why, none of us will ever be the same. In nearly all the cave paintings, there's always pictures of a bull or a cow or an oxen. But what's beautiful about this is they're always painted on the ceiling. Always with a cloudy sky or a night sky. It forces you to look up on the cave, see the paintings. And that is one of the clues of the ultimate universal knowledge. And you will understand what is holy. Look to the heavens. See this world's various fates. And let's go to Egypt. The pyramid is created to represent the sun, and yet it is created by none of us. And we don't know what it is, but we do know it's a square. Every sun monument is created not as a sphere, but as a square. The Incan, the Mayan, the Egyptian, Aztec, African, the sun is always a square. And the reason is, in the ancient world, near the summer solstice or the winter solstice, a hole will appear in the sun, the butthole of the sun. Inevitably, it will be a square. And when a square appears on the sun, it means the time of man has come. We have matured. And it is also something even more powerful. It's an invitation to the holiest place of all. The place of the Apis bull. Here is the worship of the Apis bull. And here is the square in the sun. And the knowledge of it all is here. Once you enter this square hole in the sun, you will enter a gateway. You will travel through what we call a wormhole. You will begin an interstellar space travel throughout the cosmos that mankind has taken for more than 100,000 years. Travel through this wormhole, and when we come out, you will be here in the Apis bull's butthole. You will exit here from this area of the constellation of Horus, the bull. And how we know this is because this, a square. The gate of the sun and its holy constellations come together correlated in a planet that is not Earth. And all you have to do is return to Egypt. If you go to Egypt, you will find the confirmation of this knowledge is so overpowering with man that it will stun you into silence. Although the doubting Thomas will say, this square is only a coincidence. These two subjects have nothing to do with each other. It's a fantasy, it's imagination. It couldn't possibly be true. It is true. And the confirmation of the truth and the light and the wisdom of this is here. The Egyptians worshipped the Apis bull, but they also worshiped the sun. And the two were always linked together. An entryway, an exitway into the cosmos. Here is an ancient Apis bull that was worshipped for thousands of years. On the head of this ancient holy creature is the sun. And with it, the power of the sun and the serpent. Notice what nears and seems to be a crack at the top of this Apis bull's sun monument. The common eye is just an old piece of work. A 3,000-year-old broken statue with a broken sun on top. But yet, it was the holiest knowledge you will ever see. And now, a satellite view of the same object today. Compare the two. Come, children of friends. Yes, this is the hole in the sun that they saw 5,000 years ago. A hole exactly like we see today. An opening. Walk away from what you've been taught of Egypt, my children and my children's children and the grandchildren. Look away. Look away. It's a hole in the sun, a view that requires a satellite thousands of years ago. All right, we go.
Now in that, meaning we are now magnetically connected to the sun directly as a result of this space weather structure. And if
Like I'm saying, all the other clans, all the other tribes, not just one, not just two, thousands of people. Thousands of people gone into the butthole of the sun. Damon T. Berry. Damon T. Berry died of cancer. God bless his soul, or, whatever he tends to worship. I'm just saying, bless the man's soul. Tried to get the word out because he was paid by the government to get the word out on the aliens. It ain't no man. You got to check it out. I'm rereading some of it right now. It's the best stuff I've ever read in my life. Damien T. Berry. Look it up. Back to the clip. Butthole of the sun. That's where you're going. It's supposed to be there. Everybody else up and left. We're the only ones here. We're the dumbest breed, the dumbest clan, the dumbest tribe that's ever been on this planet. All the others went to the butthole of the sun. I'm just saying it's the apis bull. Check it out. Here we go.
If we go back to our alignment graphic here, you'll see I put in this solar storm right there over Mars. That's because over the past week, we had 2 significant solar storms launch out towards Mars. And the first one impacted yesterday. The second one impacts tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So we're right in this
Mañana.
where there is this strong plasma magnetic connection between the sun and the Mars, between the sun and Earth. We have this alignment right here. All the
He's not bringing the butthole up.
And of course, we have C2025 R3 pan-stars flying in for its perihelion, and then that perfect
Perihelia,
comet Earth.
not to be confused with pareidolia.
Sky map, because it looks a little different. When we look just at this graphic, it gives you a different sense of where the planets are than if we look at the actual sky position. This is useful. They're both very useful tools, so we'll look at that.
Those are useful tools.
A Venus-Moon conjunction tonight. So I recommend you go out and give that a look, right?
Check it out. Coming to a sky near you.
The moon, crescent moon, after a new moon, will be up there. And we see
there it is.
This new moon race across here at the bottom of our SDO imagery.
That's the sun.
That was just within the past 24 hours. And to just discuss a little bit more on the solar topic, we also had a big plasma filament launched from the sun today.
Bam! Launched it in for you.
Direct, but we may get a little clip from that in the coming days. So you see that right there? That's a big plasma filament that launched.
You know what I'm saying? It's launching to the butthole of the sun. You think I'm lying? You think I'm crazy? You'd be right. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Check it out next week when I show up with no videos, and then like 2 weeks after that, I post another one. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, because that's going to be hilariously awful.